As the war in Ukraine rages on, civilians, including Nigerians, caught in the chaos have arrived at Budapest in Hungary. We're now joined by Rise International Correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya, who have been following events, and she's currently at the Yogati train station in Budapest in Hungary. Great to have you, Adefemi. Adefemi, tell us what is happening in Budapest.
Good morning, Rufai. Well, in the immediate moments just before coming to you live, we have had one of the biggest arrivals of the Nigerian evacuees from Ukraine. Many of them have arrived from Sumy, and they've successfully arrived here at the Nugaki train station in the Hungarian capital, Budapest. Just over my shoulder, you'll see that a crowd of about 30 of them at first have emerged and are now stood outside the station, which is where I'm talking to you from, but they have split. There's been a little fragmentation where some of the students who have arrived are opting to go it alone and are choosing to stay out here and look at the options for transport that are available to them by the Hungarian government. But then there's also been a small breakaway group who have followed the representative from the Church of Redeemers, who is based in Hungary, and he's taken them just around the corner to the local McDonald's, probably for them to warm up for a little bit, but just to have a clear number of the amount of people who want to stay with him and have him arrange their accommodation, and have the other group of students who are opting to take a more independent path and see what they can get to by themselves.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that 30 of them have arrived safely in Budapest, but how many more are there that we know, and are their whereabouts accounted for at this time?
There are still, it's believed, quite a few still making their way out of Ukraine, out of the held areas like Sumy and the like. And so it's, in terms of what we've been hearing from the representatives on ground and from students who have been working with others to get them over into Hungary into safety, there's still hundreds making their journey. So it's expected that throughout the day, more and more trains will continue arriving. When you look at the geography of it all, when these students come from different parts of Ukraine and enter Hungary, there are 5 different entry points across the border, but effectively all of the trains go to one area and then bring them into the Hungarian capital. So not everybody you're seeing behind me is from Sumy. They could have been from other areas that have been trapped in Ukraine, but together they've come together. Together they've traveled almost to this place. In terms of numbers, as I said, from what we've seen now, there's about 30 of them who've arrived, and they're continuing to trickle in more and more of them. This just happens to be the biggest one group that has arrived. When we got here very early this morning at around 4 a.m. local time, we had heard that a bigger arrival would have been happening, but that didn't actually end up being the case. When we got to the station, it was just the one Nigerian student who obviously looked quite tired, quite disheveled, was unclear about how she was going to get the ticket into her next destination. She wasn't staying in Budapest. She didn't want to make herself known to the embassy authorities here just yet. She was on her way to another part of Hungary, and together we went to the machine and I helped her. We put in the process to allow her to get a train ticket, and she's already now set on her way. That was around 6:30 this morning. She got on her train to that destination. So just in the last few minutes, this train has arrived, which has brought, as I said, around 30 Nigerian students and migrants into Budapest. And as I said, some of them already stopped and wanting to get onto the buses that will be available to refugees who've been coming from Ukraine, but also for those of them who want to stay and have their accommodation immediately sorted out by the representatives here. We've got a Nigerian ambassador to a smaller group of the diaspora on the ground. I believe she spoke to Arise News a few days ago on Newsday. She was in Slovakia then, she's in Hungary now. We're hoping to catch up with her later on in the day. And also Pastor Michael from the Redeemed Church, who has been on the ground for a matter of days and has helped dozens of Nigerians secure accommodation here in Budapest. He's also said that he's encouraged them to use their immigration status, however temporary, to their advantage. See if they can be able to be put in a position where they can enroll in schools. Some of these students already have their transcripts with them and are open to the prospect of continuing their studies here in Hungary, and also seeking entrepreneurship and menial jobs in order for them to secure money. But it does seem as though the consensus here for the small time that these Nigerian arrivals have been on the ground is that they are quite focused on seeing if they can stay in Europe and perhaps not return to Nigeria as yet. Talking about returning to Nigeria, there have been reports that another evacuation plane will arrive this weekend on Saturday and take Nigerians back over into Nigeria should they decide it. Now, we haven't been able to independently verify that by the Nigerian embassy just yet. I did speak to the ambassador, and we are expected to see her later on in this afternoon. But she says, as it stands now, she can only tell me that in terms of the Nigerian evacuees and refugees that she has helped through the embassy, they have been given accommodation in areas quite away from Budapest. And from what we've been hearing on the ground, that has made some people unsettled because they don't want to come all of this way to a main city capital only to be taken out to a remote area. So lots of people with different motivations and different plans for how they will continue this new phase of their life.
Okay, Adefemi, I just need you to assist us with some clarifications. I mean, overnight I've been in touch with Nigerian parents who have children out there in Sumy, northeastern part of Ukraine. Some of them 3 children, some of them 1, some of them 2. And some of them are concerned that the Nigerian government's involvement has been more, active on Twitter and Facebook. And that in real terms, many parents have had to make their own arrangements. Some of the young people have had to make their own arrangements. And that the Red Cross has been actively involved. So I just want you to give us an impression of, what has happened in terms of the involvement in the evacuation, so that we don't think that all of these persons just got there because the Nigerian government agents in our various missions within that axis were the ones responsible for this. What actually is the truth?
Thank you, Dr. Rubin. Well, two of the 3 things you mentioned, the second and the third point, seem to be quite an accurate depiction. The sense that the vast majority of Nigerian refugees who come over from Ukraine are going to be solely responsible for their transport, for their accommodation, for themselves as it pertains to their lives as they know it now here in mainland Eastern Europe. Earlier today, before this train arrived, as I said, there was one young girl who was making her way independently. She bought her own ticket to another place in Hungary, and then there was a group of 3 young boys, 3 students who had just missed their train. Actually, I got to speak to them because they had missed their train and had to wait 5 hours for another one. That train was taking them to the Czech Republic and then onwards to Berlin, because they say that they believe that they've been able to secure the prospect, the opportunity for them to continue their studies at a university in Berlin, which is generally the consensus for a lot of the people here. How can we stay? How can we continue our university studies from here in Europe without having to return to Nigeria? So yes, if parents are concerned that a lot of their students, a lot of their children are having to fend for themselves, that's absolutely the case. As it pertains to the embassy perhaps being more vocal on social media than they are on the ground, we will speak to the Nigerian ambassador to Hungary and have her words. As I said, I spoke to her very late last night, early this morning, and she said that she'd be able to give us some time this afternoon to give her side of affairs. But she did tell me that they had secured accommodation for Nigerians who had made themselves available to them. However, she did accept and did confess that those accommodations are outside, quite far away from the Hungarian capital. And for a lot of the students here, that is not what they want. That's not what they want at all.
Well, thank you very, very much, Adefemi Akinsanya, for the wonderful work that you continue to do as Arise News International Correspondent. Thank you very much indeed.